Hello and welcome to another video. So recently I've been on the road a bit with conferences and lots of workshops, as well as getting more in depth with some of my older bushcraft groups. And so I've had a reason to buy some more axes and increase the size of my axe collection. So for today I thought we'd have a look at some of the more budget-friendly axes that are out there on the market. So these are all axes that come in decently below £100. So these won't be your Gransfors, Brooks or Wetterlings axes. These are just the ones to get you started, and some of these are perfectly good for the price point, and some of them do have flaws that you should at least know about, and you should know what you are getting for your money. So if that sounds interesting to you, then keep watching and we will head straight into it. Alright, so starting with the axes, the Screwfix axes, the forged steel brand of axes. So these are ones that I picked up just because for the price I thought why not. At the time they were about £10 for the small axe head, for the small axe, and then I think it was around £15 for the bigger one. And I thought I'd just pick these up and just see what I could do with them. And it attracted me that there were axes out there that I would feel more comfortable just with a bit of training handing to any of the participants in my sessions, and not worrying too much if it got damaged. Like this one has. This one's been eaten up quite decently side there. We'll get into that in a moment. So as I said, these are probably one of the cheapest axes on the spectrum. You may well get these kind of hardware style axes as well, which will have composite handles. This one, I've featured it in a few videos. I don't know where it came from or when it was forged, or whether you can even still buy them anymore. So I'm not going to talk a massive amount of this, but there are some good ones at this level, but chances are you're unlikely to find them outside of a car boot. So moving back to ones that I know that are actually on the market, these Screwfix axes. So let's see, they'll come dark head. We've got a 450 gram head on this one, and we've got, see, a 990 gram head on this longer axe. And they come with a little sheath, which is actually really handy. Not so great if you are trying to fit this into a backpack or into a small space. It's not the most bushcrafty look, but it's secure and it protects the blade. So it gets a big thumbs up from me, just from a group management perspective. And this is where you will typically, most axes that come in this sort of price range will have two finishes. So they will have a varnish coating on the handle, and they will also, chances are, come out of the box almost completely blunt. You will have to spend some time sharpening these. In addition, varnish handles aren't the best thing, so chances are you're going to have to strip the handle to avoid cracks and problems like this, or when you're using them for an extended period of time, they're much more likely to cause blisters. So we would then be looking to move it to a different. So there's a reason why they start with varnish straight out of the box. It's just to protect the handle. It's a quick and easy way for tool manufacturers to create a handle that lasts a good long time. So they will come out of the box, varnished handle, blunt head, and they will need a lot of work. So once I got these, I then had to spend just about an hour each blade just getting it back up to sharpen. I'll do a separate video on axe care and how I set up an axe ready for use my sessions. But if you want to avoid splitting, everything else is worth the effort. So if you're looking for something on a budget, something that you're not afraid to lend to someone else, to lend to a participant, then these are decent options. The other major disadvantage that will have these beyond the finish of the blade, and I don't know, have enough technical knowledge to really talk about the types of steel or the forging methods, but there is clearly a difference between these and some of the more expensive axes in the way that the steel is forged. So I can't talk much about that, but is very likely there's a big difference. But one of the biggest things that I've noticed with these is that the handle length is incompatible with the head length, with the head weight. So what I mean by this is the axe heads are just too light. So this axe head that comes in just under 1 kilo should probably be almost a 1.25 kilos in weight for the length of the handle. As a result, it feels really underpowered when you're swinging. You have to put a lot more effort into this to get it to split. It is hard work using this, whereas with a heavier axe you can actually let the weight of the axe do the work. Obviously the far end of that would be something like a splitting maul, something that's just basically a sharpened sledgehammer, where you just use the weight, and then you have your splitting axes in between, which then have a combination of swing and weight, but these just don't have enough weight to swing well. Moving on up from Screwfix, I've had this Husqavana hatchet for about 5 years now, and it's really nice, handy, short handle. It sharpens up really well. It's been really a good tool to have, and I've been, for the price point, and this comes in around £40 odd, £45 or so, I've thought it well worth the money, and it's been performed almost as well as many other axes that I've tried. So my thinking was, if something works, then get more of them. So I bought a newer version. You can see it hasn't had as many coats of linseed oil. So again, you're going to, with any of these axes, chances are you're going to have to strip a bit of varnish and a bit of coating off and then recoat them. But I did not have to spend nearly as much time sharpening these, because they came out of the box pretty sharp, and that's something that you are paying for as you go into the higher prices. But as I was shopping for this particular axe, I saw in the same shop there was another Husqavana axe, and I thought, well, why not give it a go. This one is £20 by the same manufacturer, so thought, let's just see what the difference is. So bringing things a little bit closer, you can see there's, first of all, there's a difference in design. I do kind of like this shape where you can get right underneath the axe handle, but I'd say the biggest difference is the way that the heads are shaped. You can see that the axe, the Husqavana hatchet versus the cheaper axe, has a much thinner profile all the way to the edge, whereas this one is quite chunky. It's got quite a wide blade to it, and this is where you'll see the main difference between a really cheap budget axe and so what we'd call a cheap axe to more of a budget friendly but proper axe, and that is in the way that the head's set up. Now this type of head is perfectly fine if you are looking to do a lot of wood splitting, because that wide profile, as long as you put enough force into it, it's going to break the wood open. It's going to split it open just fine. It's only when you start to get into carving that a thinner blade profile really starts to help. And again, this particular axe took a lot of sharpening. I don't know whether it was worth the saving of £20 getting one of these rather than another one of these, because I then had to spend an hour just to get a somewhat functional edge, and I'm still not quite there yet. I've still got a lot of work to do with this, and there's still a lot of oiling to do on the handle. You can see that step up in £20, there is a massive difference in the quality and the finish. If I bring that a little bit closer, you can see there's just quite a difference. Like I say, I can't speak to the differences. Steel, this Husqavana says this one is hand forged, whereas this one is just forged. I don't know enough about it to really comment. The piece of research I've done hasn't indicated it anyway. So, like I said, £40 will get you a decent hatchet, one that you can quite capably do lots of basic bushcraft tasks. This will work for bits and pieces of carving, it'll work for splitting, a little bit of light felling if you really have to. It is a good all-rounder. Then as you start going up in price there, you start specializing a little bit more. Say the next price point up is probably the Halterfors trekking axe. So again, another Halterfors do have a very nice budget friendly range. See, got a hand forged head again. This one is longer, as you can see. It's not quite to sternum, just about as long as my arm, and this is pretty much the proper all-rounder. If you're looking for something that will fit in a backpack and can be easily carried, easily backpackable, then this is a really nice kind of camp axe. But to be really versatile, this is about where you'd go. Now this gets a little bit harder for using for small carving tasks. As I said, it's probably not one that I would use personally for carving with groups, just because a lot of people who are starting out don't necessarily have the arm and hand strength to lift and move this much weight in handle and head. But everything in here is nicely balanced. It just works. It's a good solid tool. As I said, this comes around, I think, about 60 odd pounds or so, and it's served me pretty well. As I said, specializing, if you want something that is a bit more for carving, then we have the Robin Wood carving axe from Wood Tools. This is a beautiful little axe, get about £60, and you can tell the difference compared to a more budget friendly axe. You can tell there's a big difference in the finish and edge on this. So this will come blindingly sharp and will sharpen really well and hold its edge well. Similar style, but again, vast difference. So I've really enjoyed this. Is more of a straight carving axe. So if we look at the profile of the head, see if we compare it to Husqavana, see it's a lot thinner, so that makes it better at that kind of slicing motion. It's not as good as splitting tool, and I wouldn't use this as a splitting tool. This is primarily for carving. It's for taking the edges off the spoon blank. It's for light carving work down something. It's just the right size, the right weight, and the right blade profile to be really good at carving. So to summarize, your budget axes, the type you find in most hardware stores, are usable. You will need to do a lot more work with them. You will need to spend a lot more time taking finish off, putting an edge on, but they will cheap. You may well spend more time maintaining your edge, but these are tools you can use with someone else. Good for splitting, but they do take a lot of work. Then you have your slightly more expensive but still budget axes. These ones are good workhorses where you won't be paying as much as a Gransfors Brooks or as a Halterfors premium axe, and there will be differences in the in how long the edge lasts and how well they take an edge. So a Gransfors Brooks or a Wetterlings axe or a Halterfors premium axe, their edges will come sharper, and they will also last longer, and there will be better alignment in the grain. They're just a kind of step up from this. But if you're starting out, if you're looking for something on a budget, these are entirely possible to use. So if you're looking for a really cheap axe that you just want to be able to use with participants, with clients, where you're going to be using a mallet to split it, then your budget hardware axes are fine. Just expect to spend a bit of time getting them up to sharp. If you're looking for an introductory axe to use with groups as you start teaching proper swinging technique, you're not too worried if the handle gets damaged, then these Screwfix axes are a decent option. They'll split just fine. But if you are looking for something a little bit more market, something that you can use, an effective tool, then these Husqavana hatchets as well as the Halterfors trekking axe are quite effective tools. And then if you're looking to get more into carving and using smaller axe, then we have the Robin Wood carving axe. Okay, so all of these do have their place. It's not saying that one is necessarily better in every single way than the other, but it's the right tool for the right job. So yeah, I hope this has helped you with some of the more budget-friendly axes out there. If you do have a budget-friendly axe that you get along with really well, I'd love to hear about it. Do let me know in a message in the comments. And if you are looking to build safe and effective technique with axes and splitting tools, I have 2 entire videos on axe techniques and splitting. I will leave them in the description down below. With that, I want to say a big thank you to Wellness Woodlands for hosting me out here on their beautiful campsite. It's a genuine pleasure to be back here. So if you're looking for somewhere over the Shropshire direction, over past Bewdley, somewhere where it has a bit more of a glamping feel, but you could still get away from things and have your own space and a lot of peace and quiet with some facilities, then do check them out. Again, link in the description. With that, thank you so much for watching and listening. Remember to make the most of every day, and I'll catch you all next time.